There is perhaps no place where there is greater divergence of opinion in the Christian world than the question of the basis of our salvation. Is it, as Paul insisted and Martin Luther echoed, by faith alone? Or is it, as James seemingly insisted, by our works? The entire Protestant Reformation began over this very question, and it split the Western Church in two, perhaps never to reconcile. There's a lot hanging on the question, and not surprisingly, we Presbyterians have a particular way of approaching it that is distinctly our own. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas. Last week and this week, I've been asking the question, what makes a Presbyterian a Presbyterian? One of the things I hope you've gleaned from my musings is that many of our beliefs we share with most of the Christian church. We just happen to arrange the common building blocks of the faith in some relatively distinctive ways. And as I suggested yesterday, we might not even be correct about what we believe, but we put it out there anyway in an effort to be transparent. So one of the things we believe we hold in common with pretty much all Protestants, namely, that salvation is not based upon our actions, but upon faith alone. To be more precise, we believe we are saved only by God's gracious choice, which we receive by grace through faith. This was Martin Luther's great aha moment, when he realized that Paul's letters consistently insist that we are saved not by what we do, but only by God's grace. The classic text comes from Paul's letter to the Romans, but he says substantially the same thing in nearly all of his letters. Paul writes, "What becomes of boasting? It is excluded. By what law? By that of works? No, but by the law of faith. For we hold that a person is justified by faith apart from works prescribed by the law. Or is God the God of Jews only? Is he not the God of Gentiles also? Yes, of Gentiles also, since God is one. And he will justify the circumcised on the ground of faith, and the uncircumcised through that same faith. Do we then overthrow the law by this faith? By no means. On the contrary, we uphold the law." Paul's point here is that our righteousness before God does not come because we follow the letter of the law. This was important in Paul's appeal to Gentile converts. He was adamant that Gentiles should not be required to follow the law of the Old Testament, and particularly the law requiring circumcision. So, case closed, right? Well, not so fast. Scripture does not always speak with one voice on every issue. And although Martin Luther hated the letter of James, it is part of the Christian canon, part of the New Testament. And what James says seems to contradict Paul in uncompromising terms. The most memorable passage in the letter of James insists that works do play an indispensable part in the life of faith. James writes, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith but do not have works? Can faith save you? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, keep warm, and eat your fill,' and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, of what good is that? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead." So which is it, faith or works? It seems like an irreconcilable difference, but is it really? Maybe there's a way to frame it in which both are true. We are saved by grace through faith alone, but works are also important. The way we connect the two is one of the distinctive features of Presbyterian belief. The way we connect them is actually pretty straightforward and simple. We are indeed saved only by the grace of God, which we receive through faith. But if our salvation does not cause us to respond to God with lives of gratitude, well, then our faith is pretty thin. Works are part of faith, but not because we are saved on the basis of our works. Instead, works are what we do to express our gratitude to God for our salvation. To put it in different terms, Works are not what we do to earn salvation. Works are the things we do as a result of our salvation. Salvation first, then works. So in the end, both Paul and James turn out to be correct. Faith and works are both important. It's the order in which they come that makes all the difference. Next week, I'm going to return to a series of Psalms from the daily lectionary. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.